Do you have a gut feeling that mold might be the reason you've got persistent food sensitivities? Hi, I'm Krista. I'm an integrative health practitioner in Greenville, South Carolina, and I help clients heal from root cause issues such as mycotoxin illness or other chronic infections through a frequency and functional medicine approach. Mycotoxins and food sensitivities. Multiple food sensitivities are a common symptom in cases of mycotoxin illness in mold sensitive individuals, leaving clients and patients at a loss for what to eat. Food sensitivities can lead to frustration, restrictive eating habits, as well as social isolation. Gathering around the table is an ancestral means of connection that we're wired for. Eating together brings more than just nourishment, it is medicine that I like to call soul food. But what happens when suddenly everything you eat leaves you feeling broken out in symptoms like bloating, nausea, bowel changes, brain fog, headaches and migraines, anxiety or panic attacks, rashes, hives, flushing, elevated blood pressure, heart palpitations, sinus congestion, fatigue, and joint pain, leaving you feeling frustrated and limited in your food choices and dietary experiences? Elimination diet approaches don't always bring answers and permanent solutions. Many clinicians and self-guided individuals choose to try out an elimination diet of sorts. This may include options such as the total elimination of certain food groups, the autoimmune protocol, paleo diet, carnivore diet, or Lion's diet. Much success can be found in implementing these diets due to their nature of removing common trigger or aggravating foods, their interactions with the human immune system, and their impact on the health of the epithelial lining of the gut often brings temporary relief. While these elimination diets can bring symptom relief, oftentimes clients or patients find themselves lacking a variety of foods or continuing to have food sensitivities develop suddenly. Others find themselves implementing an elimination diet with hopes of successful reintroduction, only to be disappointed when the reintroduction doesn't go as planned and they're back at square one. You need to clear the underlying issue. The most common reason I see for an unsuccessful reintroduction phase to an elimination diet is the lack of clearing the underlying issue. Rather than focusing on the elimination of the foods alone, a root cause clinician will ask, why is the body reacting to this food? In the context of mycotoxins, there are a few common mechanisms to look at with the development of food sensitivities. Number one is certain foods naturally contain higher levels of mycotoxins on the crops and farming processes that cater to the demand for mass production and exacerbate the issue. An estimated 20 to 25% of harvested crops are disposed of due to contaminations with mycotoxins, which commonly include aflatoxins, ochratoxin, patchoulin, gliotoxin, and deoxynilabanol. Some of the most common crops to naturally contain higher levels of mycotoxins include wheat, barley, corn, oat, rice, coffee beans, cocoa beans, and peanuts. Another high-risk food category includes dairy and meat products from grain-fed cattle, as well as manufactured baby food, which is primarily made of grains. Contamination of mycotoxins is not as much of a concern in grass-fed and finished dairy and meat sources. Organic grain sources generally contain lower levels of mycotoxins than conventionally grown grains as well. Number two is increased intestinal permeability, being another common driver for mycotoxin-driven food sensitivities. Exposure to mycotoxins, either by means of contaminated foods or a contaminated environment, can lead to the compromise of the protective barrier around the intestines, called the epithelial lining. When the tight protective junctures of the epithelial lining of the gut begin to separate, food and other microbial or toxin particles escape the route of waste elimination and begin circulating through the bloodstream. Because these particles don't belong in the bloodstream, the immune system sees them as foreign invaders and begins an attack in an attempt to protect the body. As the pro-inflammatory cytokine symphony orchestrates the increase of immune activation and inflammation, the food particles floating around the bloodstream look like danger to antigens, which signals immune activation and antibody production. This presentation often looks like a rapid onset of multiple food sensitivities and may extend beyond foods that are naturally higher in mycotoxins. The layman's terms for this presentation is leaky gut, and is often the predisposition for a similar process that occurs in the protective barrier around the brain called the blood-brain barrier. These conditions commonly co-occur with increased intestinal permeability, often developing into blood-brain barrier permeability or leaky brain. The brain is a susceptible valuable target for mycotoxins and their effects on the immune system. The increase of pro-inflammatory cytokines weakens the blood-brain barrier, making it susceptible to the particles that have escaped the intestinal barrier. In addition, particular mycotoxins that are lipophilic, such as ochratoxin and gliotoxin, can easily permeate the blood-brain barrier either via the bloodstream or through inhaled exposure. And number 3, molecular mimicry is another element to consider in food sensitivities and their relationship to mycotoxins. This process involves a structural similarity between particular foods and mycotoxins, which antigens cannot differentiate, and signal the activation of immune cells and antibody production. These similar structures of proteins, which are short sequences of amino acids, are called epitope structures. Common foods that present with similar epitope structures as mycotoxins include gluten, corn, casein, peanuts, soy, and yeast. Achieving better outcomes. Knowing these underlying mechanisms can help clinicians and self-guided healers achieve better outcomes with therapeutic nutrition efforts. Why? Because the food that the body is reacting to is information about what that food is cross-reacting with. When this is understood, the bottom line is that elimination diets are not enough to permanently heal food sensitivities. This is why reintroductions with nutrition-only interventions often fail. Root cause information helps point the arrow towards the real culprit that lies beyond or within the foods creating reactions. Are elimination diets still valuable? 1,000%. Eliminations diet help to quiet down the immune system activation and remove triggers, allowing for gut, brain, and whole body healing around the root cause to occur. Mycotoxins and healing food intolerances. In the context of mycotoxins, this translates into the removal of toxin exposure and accumulation, both in the environment and from contaminated food sources, as well as addressing the internal load that is built up from exposure to toxic molds and their metabolites. While implementing an elimination diet for mycotoxin illness, such as the low histamine diet, autoimmune paleo diet, carnivore diet, or other indicated diets that your clinician may advise for your unique needs, it is vital to be addressing any poor air quality present in the home, car, workspace, as well as to be binding and eliminating internally colonized metabolites. This may include the use of binders, herbal support, limbic brain retraining, and detoxification therapies such as infrared sauna use, nasal irrigation, and ozone therapy. Working one-on-one with a healthcare professional who is mold literate is a vital step in permanent healing. The custom support that a mold literate clinician can offer to mold cases can rapidly accelerate the healing process. With the right approach that is unique to your body and the adherence to some form of nutritional therapy, i.e. one of the previously mentioned elimination diets or a variation that is individualized for you, here are some helpful tips for successful reintroductions to previously triggering foods. Number 1, wait until the body is ready. This is vital to the success of the reintroduction, as well as building confidence in the optimism bias of the client or patient. The majority of mold detoxification should be complete, as well as the repair to the intestinal lining and the blood-brain barrier. Mast cells should also be stabilized before reintroductions, especially to higher histamine-containing foods. Number 2, take it one food at a time. Food reintroductions are exciting. Oftentimes, clients are eager to get some of their favorite foods back in their diets. However, this may lead to a lack of clarity on the body's tolerance because of the nature of food sensitivities versus food allergies. Food allergies create reactions in a matter of minutes, whereas food sensitivities can occur over 1 to 5 days on the particular food item. One food every week or every 5 days, if the food introduced previously did not cause a reaction, is a good generalized timeline for success. It is vital to track any symptoms and write down the days that certain foods were reintroduced to stay aware of patterns or triggers. Number 3, consider quantities and frequency of consumption. Sometimes a little is good, but more is not always better. The body often has a threshold tolerance for particular foods, especially if they're common culprits of cross-reactivity. Dairy, for example, a common food that cross-reacts with fungal issues, one may be able to tolerate a small serving of goat cheese once or twice a week, but consuming goat dairy daily is too much. This is another aspect of food reintroductions that makes symptom tracking and reintroductions so valuable. Being in tune with the body is key. Number 4, start with low histamine and/or low cross-reactivity foods. Going from a low histamine diet to introducing a high histamine containing food is not a setup for success. Choose low reactivity foods in small quantities and be patient with the body. Remember, true healing is about playing the long game, not rapid results. Number 5, consider sourcing as a way to lower exposure to cross-reactive foods once reintroductions are worked up to moderate or small amounts of higher histamine-containing foods. For example, choosing a tested mycotoxin-free coffee brand and brewing it in a pour-over or French press as opposed to a coffee maker or a Keurig machine lowers your chances of getting exposed to rapidly growing mold and its metabolites either on the beans or in the brewing machine. The same principle applies to the sourcing of grains, meats, and dairy products. Number 6, brain retraining can also be a valuable tool for food reintroductions. Remember, the body's previously hypersensitive food reactions occur to protect the body. Retraining the limbic system to not perceive particular foods, especially those with higher molecular mimicry to mycotoxins, may be required for a successful reintroduction of that food. Consider placing a tiny bit of that food that is being reintroduced on the tongue while practicing some EFT tapping and affirmations, reminding your body that the food is no longer needed to be perceived as a threat. If the pulse elevates during this exercise, it's likely best not to swallow the food, but to try again in a few days and wait for the pulse to remain stable before swallowing or consuming a full serving of that food. Elevation of pulse can indicate stress, barring that this food is not naturally stimulating, as would be the case for high glycemic or caffeinated foods. Number 7, focus on diet variation. Once a food is successfully reintroduced, be mindful to rotate it with a variety of other safe, non-reactive foods in order to mindfully build the body's tolerance and avoid a reactivation of the sensitivity. Many individuals become overeager to consume successful reintroductions daily. And rightfully so, this is exciting. However, mindful consumption and diet variation are a recipe for success in achieving permanent results. Remind your body that the food supply is not scarce, as the elimination of particular foods will likely trigger a primal scarcity response to these foods, especially after successful reintroduction occurs. Be patient with yourself and remember the healing potential of self-compassion. Navigating food sensitivities can be a challenge both logistically, socially, and emotionally. If you're unsure of where to begin when it comes to healing from food sensitivities, working one-on-one with a clinician is a great first step. Prioritize being inquisitive about the root cause information that the foods creating reactions are offering. Address and eliminate the root cause both in internal and external environments, in addition to compliance with an appropriate nutritional therapy. Focus on gut, immune, and limbic system repair prior to reintroduction. Approach food reintroductions with patience and strategy. Remember that deeper healing takes time, and the body is wired for it when we slow down enough to listen and ask the right questions. Check the notes to watch the live I did on this topic and read the article. Bye, everybody.